Hello everyone, long time no see. There's a lot of new features here for Cave Engine 1.3. I'm very excited to talk about that. And in this video, I'll talk about three very exciting things. One of them is the new state machine, which is hierarchical. We will talk about that in a moment. I'll also be talking about the new code editor inside the engine and the work in progress animation retarget thing, as well as a bunch of other smaller things. But before we jump to the engine, just some very important news here regarding our website. If you go to Uniday.studio, you'll be able to see our new website. It's a very nice place with learn stuff. We have like Python if you want to learn Python. Here we go. We have quests here. It's completely free, by the way. You can have a bunch of new stuff here to learn to get started with Python. We have blog, so you can read a bunch of new things. There's a bunch of blog posts as well. Many of them are making them based on GDC talks, which is very nice. And of course, we have a forum, we have student games, we have game jams. Let's see, where is the next one? I think it's very close. Oh, I opened it in a new tab by accident. It starts in 10 days, the next game jam, so make sure to check that out. And we also have a feed here, like a social media. How cool is that? But this is for game development. So yes, I've been even posting stuff here. You can like stuff. Anyways, but back to what matter here. If you go to app, and then you click Cave Engine, this is now new in the website, you will see that Cave Engine now have a new home here in the website. A new place for you to check Cave and to get Cave. It will still redirect you to each.io if you don't have Cave, but if you have Cave, now this is new. Let me click here. I do have Cave in this account here. Now we do have a new download manager. So if you have purchased the engine on Niche or Hotmart, and I'm working on the Patreon integration too, all you have to do is to go ahead, create an account here, and see your engine downloads here. So, which is new, which is good about this, is that now we can have multiple versions because the previous website was not supporting that. So we have Cave 1.2.1, which is the latest release version. But once I release 1.3, the older version will still be here, and I can see that we do have files here that I can assign. So for this version, we do have Cave Engine Bible here. 16 people already downloaded, and I not even talked about this. We have 13 downloads here on Windows, so you can download your stuff. You can click here to view the forums for the game engine, so you can ask questions here if you want, if you don't feel like asking on our Discord server. So this is very nice. And something that is good is that now the website is not going to crash or anything like that. So if I click here to create a build for Windows, you can see that it's queued and it will create the build. And by the way, before you ask why do we need a website and all that, Cave Engine is built literally custom for each user. So the website is doing the job. So now I can click here to download. Anyways, you get the idea, and I plan to select a few people to do some beta testings for future versions. And the new website will support this. So I'm very happy. I'm very excited about that. And of course, again, you can see your versions. You can download your versions. Very nice, very easy, straightforward. Okay, let's go back to the engine and explore the three new features here. The first one, I'll talk about the animation because we have a guy moving here. And why do we have this guy moving? Basically, it is using the same animation as this guy here, but this guy, they both have Mixamo rigs. This is literally a guy from Mixamo. This is a guy that I created for one of our future games. But it does have a Mixamo rig, but they do have different proportions in the armature. So if I click here, I do have animation retarget. Yes, we have ragdoll, but it's work in progress. Ragdoll I'm not gonna make to 1.3, by the way. Nope. It's very early on. Anyways, but we do have the new animation retargeting, and it is actually using a base armature for this guy here. This guy animation armature is called 47 armature. And this guy here, it is using this base armature. So if I disable this, you can see the animation is slightly wrong. It's a bit hard to tell because it looks weird, but it doesn't necessarily look wrong. But yes, it is wrong. It's not how it is supposed to be. So if I click here and select the base armature, it will be able to do all the conversions here for the new armature, so which is very nice. It is work in progress. I do have some stuff that I need to improve. For example, if I enable the retarget position, you can see that it is completely wrong now because it is literally trying to keep the same proportions as this guy, and it does not have but you can see that I can fine tune the rotation, the scale, and all that, and I do have a proper rig now. So you can see here the armature. Disable this guy. Anyways, so this is animation retargets. It's very good because it will allow us to reuse animations for different models, as long as they have, of course, the same bone structure and the same bone names and all that. The engine will be able to do the retargeting very nice. By the way, I was trying with the proto mesh here. This is why the guy is here, and yes, the scaling is wrong. Don't worry about that. But this is like my test environment. But I realized that Cave Engine was not importing something very important when you import an armature, which is the original pose of the bones. Cave Engine was not doing this until 1.3. So because we never used this before, and we need the original pose for the bones to be able to do the retargeting. So I had to change how the engine imports the bones. So the 1.3 will you will be able to open your previous project if you're creating a project in 1.2, but just so you know, the retargeting will not going to work unless you import again the FBX, because then Cave Engine will have the updated version. So if you're working a game right now and you want to continue to work in this game, but you want to have retargeting on 1.3 is out, just make sure you save the original FBX file so you can just import it again. And all you need probably is the armature. Like the armature, you need to re-import this file over here, the rig. So all you need is this, because the rig now have new information that Cave 1.2 didn't have, and this is used for retargeting. So basically we have retargeting. Work in progress, but we have it. I think it's gonna make it to 1.3. I'm pretty sure that it will. I want to improve it, so we've been using it in a project here in Uniday Studio, and since we are using it, we will probably beta test it a little bit, find issues, find problems, find stuff that are not working. It's impossible to find 100%, but we are trying to find 99% of them, so you guys can have a better experience using the engine. So this is first update with the engine. I mean, there's a lot more updates, but you get the idea. First update that I want to share here. The second update is that he wrote, oh my god, there's a lot of new components here, because I was testing. So this script here, the Python script, is crazy. It's like 100 lines of code. But if you remember, the previous code editor here in the engine was very bad. So this is why we recommended, and we actually actively use here in the studio an external editor, which is Visual Studio Code, because you can, if you want, open this project here in Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, I do have the project here open, and if I click in this very bad Python script that I was testing, you can see that I can modify it here. So I can type test or something like that. If I go back to the engine, my Python code, first line of code, you can see test is over here. So for many times we recommended Visual Studio Code. And it's also good, by the way, because the engine, the project is actually set up with typings here for you to have IntelliSense and Visual Studio Code. So you have like all the stubs here for the engine, all the functions, the methods, the classes that you want, even Sting stuff. By the way, we are using Sting API in our Sting game. If you don't know, we have a Sting game. It's called Crawl. Let's actually show this to you real quick. This is a game we released. We do have positive, 95% of the reviews are positive. So if you haven't played Crawl, make sure you check it out. It's a very interesting PS1, PS2 style game, open world, stealth, adventure, exploration, and it was made with Cave, and we do have achievements. Where's the achievements? Here you go. We have 16 achievements, and this is all done using the Sting API that Cave Engine provides. So this is pretty nice. Let me actually group this, because I hate a bunch of windows opened. So this API here, very simple, very straightforward. Anyways, so we recommended for many time to use Visual Studio Code. And by the way, just something new. I know you guys don't like AI stuff, but Visual Studio is actively pushing the Copilot here, and it is doing autocomplete. And believe it or not, this is very interesting. So let's try to see if it is working. So getting all children of the scene. You can see press tab, so of the entity. Now it is hallucinating. So you can see it actively understood the comment, and it is actually suggesting the new line. And by the way, this is not me recommending AI, but I'm saying, well, you will be learning faster, Cave, probably if you're using GitHub Copilot, because, oh, this is nice. Okay. Let's see if it's for child and children, plain child name. I'm not typing this. This is Copilot reading the stubs in Cave and try to guess the code. So in my experience, I was actually programming recently a game here in the studio, and I was not using Copilot, but since Microsoft push this, like it was enabled by default here, so it was recommending. I was like, oh, this IntelliSense is weird because it is smarter than it used to be, and then I realized that it was Copilot, and so you know, it is doing a good job. It hallucinates sometimes, and it made up code that doesn't exist, but I would say that 70% of the time it is actually predicting the API very well based on the typing, so which is very good. Anyways, the goal is not to talk about this. The goal is to talk about the fact that I want to improve the Cave engine usability of the editor inside the engine itself, so you don't have to go back to Visual Studio as much. And to do that, I actually rewrote the Python editor here. So first things first, it works right here. You don't need to open a new tab here, and you can collapse functions here. Very nice. We do have multi-line editing, which is very nice. We can cut code here, we can paste code and all that. Everything that you can imagine. Oh, I forgot to add tab. Interesting, I'll add this to my to-do list. Anyways, you can have code highlight, you can search for things, you can click Cave, and everything that you can expect from a fully fledged editor is sort of here, so you have it. So I'm very happy with this new editor. The only thing that is missing here, and I know it sucks, is the IntelliSense. So it's not gonna auto-complete your stuff. And specifically, I just told you, I just shared to you how cool the GitHub Copilot is. And now we don't have this, unfortunately. So you don't have anything. You can click here, it doesn't have. But I want to add this, by the way. I want to add this. And then, of course, in any script I want, I can click here, and I do have the fully fledged editor over here on the right. So if I need more space and all that, I can have it. But now it's good that I can select. And it works on every UI stuff. For example, with UI element, I do have the, let me make this clickable. Oh, by the way, this is new in Cave 1.3. If I click here to add a new UI element, let me delete this one. I have some profiles here. I can have the default one in Cave 1.2. This was the only option. Now we have the text, that you add a text for me. I have the button, that you add a button for me that is clickable. And I also have some UI toolkit stuff. For example, a slider. Yes, so 50%. And if let me delete this. I kind of don't want to save it. I don't think it's going to work because I have the first person controller. Yes. But anyways, you need to trust me, the slider is working. And by the way, this is not a custom Cave stuff. I've talked about that. It's part of the default stuff that will come with Cave engine. We do have the UI toolkit with a bunch of pre-made UI stuff. Anyways, let me go back and add again a button. So you can see in the behavior here, if I see when I click here, I can expand this and I can type code print. Yes, bro, you click me. Stuff like that. So let me disable the player real quick so it doesn't try to have any controls. You can see that I can click and it is printing me, yes, bro, you clicked me. So now it's easier here. I do have this fully fledged stuff. I can create a function here in this. I don't know why you will do this because, well, this is weird, but oh, by the way, I can hold Alt and change the line. All this thing that you expect from a code editor. Very nice. Let me remove the pass here. So let's see if this works. I'm curious to see. Now we fixed the bug that was deleting some lines, by the way, because he wrote this. Let's see. Yes, you can see Python is weird, so I can create a function inside a functional callback and it works. So you get the idea. I can minimize stuff. And again, every time I want more space, I can click here and I have more space. So this is the new editor for the Python scripts in the engine. And one of the reasons, oh, now that I disable the player, let me actually show you real quick the slider. So I can click here, you can see, change this. Many people said, oh, you should add this in the UI. Well, now we have it. Okay. And I have other stuff too. Let's see, we have, I was not even supposed to show you this, but subscribe. So I can type text here. Very nice. And we have this out of the box. Last one, again, I'm not supposed to show you this, but this is a number that I can click to slide. You have this done for your game if you want this. Very nice. So why did I created all this? Why I decided to rewrite the Python editor here? Because I want to do, and now I'm introducing the last feature of this video, which is the finite state machine. Yes, I showed that to you in the beginning of the video, but let's actually go ahead and create a new one. Let's say that this character here is, oh, new feature, quick new feature. This is very nice. You guys will love this. If you know Cave, you know that it splits every object into different meshes, right? So the way we do this, so if I drag and drop the mesh here, it is trying to use this one. Let me actually go ahead and try to recreate this player. So if I drag and drop the mesh, you can see it is here, but the parts are different. And if I keep dragging and dropping the parts, you can see that it is actually creating different objects. And I don't want this. So I want to have one object with all the parts. So previously, one way to do this is to select this other part, go to the mesh, copy here the component, then I'll delete this, go to this one, and I'll paste the component. Now it's one object, do have two parts. But this is annoying. I don't like this. So one way that Cave Engine help you to do this, it's like this one, is if you double click it here, a mesh, it will actually replace the mesh component here of the selected entity with the mesh that you double click it. So this is very nice. But I don't want to replace this, I want to add a new mesh component. And so I just added it in Cave 1.3. Oh, the guy is walking. It was scaring me to see the feet. Anyways, so in Cave 1.3, if I hold Ctrl while I double click, instead of replacing the existing mesh component here, it will actually create a new one. So if I hold Ctrl, I click in the body mesh, you can see it created a new one. So now it's much easier and much, oh, where's the pants? Much easier to build together a character here. I just need to hold Ctrl and build this character out of the parts. Very easy. Now this is like a lifesaver because it will probably gonna save me so many time every time I want to import a character. So yeah, new feature to 1.3. But let's say that I want this guy here to be let's say that I'm creating Grand Theft Auto. I'm creating literally GTA, and I want this guy here to be a pedestrian in the game. So how can I do it? How can I do this? Oh, interesting. I'm pressing G, and sometimes the position is wrong. Oh, because it's a parent. Interesting. Huh. I need to fix this. Again, work in progress branch for 1.3. There are some fixes here, but let's say that this guy is an enemy. How would it work? How could I make a pedestrian out of this thing? The first thing that I can do, of course, is to create a Python component logic here, and I'll create a new script, and the name is going to be pedestrian. Very easy, simple stuff. I click here, so I can edit my pedestrian stuff. And of course, here I can add all my pedestrian logic. So here in the update, I can control the movement and all that. Probably it will not going to be this hierarchy. It will probably going to have a parent. Anyways, I have tutorials on how to do all that. But it will, oops, the engine crashed. Oh, it does not crash, just hit a breakpoint. 1 second. Sorry, I was debugging some stuff and I just added a breakpoint in the code. Now I hit the breakpoint. Anyways, so I can go ahead here, and it is complaining probably because I have this open. So I can have my character and all that. I can have the animator and all that. Basic stuff in Cave that you know. And then maybe I want to have like literally a method that walk my character into a position. I like to call this walk to a position go to for some reason. Anyways, so I have an attack function here that makes my player attack, my pedestrian attack, and all that. So I can have all the functions that I want here in the pedestrian component. Very easy, straightforward. But I want to control the behavior of this character. I want to control that he wanders around, and then if he gets shot, he can actually reduce his life and all that. So I can have a health property here. in the character itself, starts with 100. Anyways, basic stuff here. How do I do this? Now we have the state machine. So I can right click here, create a new state machine, and I want to call this pad. That stands from pedestrian, right? So in this state machine, let me actually go back to the character here, and in the components here, I'll actually add logic. Oh, I don't have the logic here. I'm still developing it, so I did not add this here. So it's all state machine component. Here we go. And now I can select my pad state machine. So now this character here will run the pedestrian state machine. I have an option here to run when the game is paused. You can if you want, but let's go back to the pedestrian. It will work here. Basically, I have the root. Then I can have a entered pad state machine. And I can have on exit pad state machine. Okay, basic stuff. So my state machine itself, it does have a start, an update and an exit, regular stuff, just very similar to the component, except that it's enter and on exit. If I play the game, you can see enter, the pedestrian state machine. There's other stuff going on here, so this is why it is printing a bunch of other stuff, because I do have other state machine here that I was testing. Let me actually remove this one. Here we go. Now I think it's gonna be better. So enter pad state machine, update pad state machine, and if I quit the game, you can see edit pedestrian state machine. So this is not different at all from the regular stuff, from the regular component, except that if I go to the graph, this root state here can have child state. So I can click here, create a new state, and let's say that I want this the pedestrian to wander around by default. So I can create a wander state. You can see it is wandering here, but I want to have a new state that maybe, let's say that the pedestrian gets shot. Oh, the wander is the initial state. So I'll set this to be the initial state. So you can see the state machine, you actually start at the wander state. The wander state can have on enter, on update, and on exit code here. I can expand this and write stuff, wandering, if I want. And this is why I actually had to rewrite this thing. Now you start to understand, because it will be, imagine in the current previous 1.2 code editor in the engine, how painful would it be to write a bunch of complicated code inside the engine itself. So I wanted to rewrite this to be better. Anyways, so I have this wander state, but maybe if the character gets hit, I want to go to another state, which is the flee state. Because of course the pedestrian is scary. So I can click here and drag to create a new connection here. And go to the flee state. So it is wandering by default. And if something happened, and I can click here to edit the rule, the transition rule, it's by default false. So if this transition is true, if I put the result true, it will go to the flee state. Okay, and in this flee state, well, it will just randomly run around and like that. But maybe, let's say that this character is very badass, and maybe he have a weapon. He is carrying a weapon. So then it does not flee if he gets hit. It will actually go ahead and fight whoever attacked him. So now we have two transition, and this transition has a higher priority than the flee, because this one, let's say that it just checks if the character gets hit. This one here will also check if the character gets hit, but also check if he have a weapon. So in the priority here, it will have a higher priority. So I increase this, and then we can add a transition rule here. So now it will fight. Once the guy kill the enemy, maybe he go back to the wander state. So then we can add a transition here, a rule to say all the enemies killed, all that. Or maybe if this guy is really out of health, we can actually go ahead and make it flee anyways. So here in this transition, since we created here in the player a property called health, let's go to the pedestrian and write this one. I can do entity.properties health is less than 10. So if I'm less than 10, yes, I don't care, I will flee anyways, okay? And in this transition here, from wander to flee, I'll actually do something very similar. Let me actually copy this. But then it's less than 100. So if something happened, this guy will flee. Except if the transition is less than 100 and this guy have a weapon. So, and I don't know, we can create a new function here, do something. Maybe we can have entity.properties.get weapon is different than known, stuff like that. So if the guy is less than 100 health and have a weapon, it will go to the fight state anyways. So we can do all this thing, and we can have like the state machine that will actually control this, the logic here. And as I said in the beginning, we can have a pedestrian Python component here, right? And then in a pedestrian, we can actually create a property to easily access this. So if you go here in the state machine properties, first things first, you can create a public variable. Maybe you want to have to control what weapon this guy have. Let's change the type to be a string, something like that. And maybe you want to have some internal variable that is only accessible here inside. So internal variable. In Python, a private or protected variable is something that starts with an underscore. If I click here, you can see that it is unlisted here. I can still change here in the state machine, but this is internal for the state machine instance. And what's good about these variables here, the properties, is if I click here in the character and I go to the state machine component, you can see that the public variables are here. So maybe this guy have a pistol. So now it's a bad guy and it's not gonna flee. Once it gets hit, it will actually try to attack the player, because it does have a pistol here, stuff like that. Again, this is not actual code, this is a bit of pseudocode. Maybe I need to change some stuff here for it to be actual code. You get the idea. Anyways, so we can have all those properties here. And of course, in the root here, on enter, what I can do is actually have the properties. Since I'm directly handling the state machine, I can just type properties here and access directly these properties here. And I can create new ones. So for example, let me create a pad property that I can store the pedestrian component. So entity.getPython pedestrian. Stuff like that. So now this pad property here in my state machine will store an instance of my pedestrian component that we have here as a Python script. And why is that? Well, why this is good? Because now in the graph here, anywhere, let's say that in the fight here, I want to have the onUpdate, and I'll just do, I don't know, attack. So I'm getting my pedestrian and I'm attacking, and if you remember, we do have an attack function that does nothing here. But you get the idea, this is basically the point, what it's meant to be. Anyways, but one last thing that I didn't show you is that, well, the wander state here, what is a pedestrian in GTA wandering? Well, maybe for some time he is idling, and for some time he is actually walking to a random place. So we want to add this. And of course, we can add everything here on update, but we don't need to, because if I double click the wander state, well, everything disappeared. Well, not actually. You can see that I'm actually inside the wander state, and inside the state I can have multiple states. So now inside the wander, I can have an initial state, which is the idle. And I can have another state here, which is the walk. So in the idle, let's actually on enter here, create a timer. And I'll make a transition here to the walk state. And the transition rule here will be And in the transition, I have direct access. You can see here, you can use a variable state as a dict to access the from state locals. So this timer that I created here in the transition, I can access it as state, oops, if I can type, state.timer.get is greater than 1.0. So after 1 second, it will actually transition to, oops, I clicked the ground, damn it. It will actually transition here to this walk state. And in this walk state, I can create another timer. Maybe it's not a good idea to have a timer. Maybe I want to identify if he reaches the destination, but this is a specific logic. You can add this if you want. So now in this go back state here, I'll do the same thing. The result is timer maybe to walk for 2 seconds before it stopped again. So let me actually here say wander idle. So we know which state we are. Wander walk. Okay, so now we should be able to see the transition going on. And again, this idle and walk is all inside the wander state. And by the way, yes, you can double click the walk and add more stuff. So we can have a huge hierarchy of states doing very specific stuff. Let's see if this works. So I do have an error here. Timer, dict object has no attribute. Timer, 1 second here. Okay, of course. I said that I just said that the state here can be accessed as a dictionary, and I was not accessing it as dictionary. I'm still working on this and improving usability, so I don't think this is the best way to access the preview, the from state data, but it is what it is right now. Anyways, but now if I play the game, you can see here that it is walking, and then for 2 seconds, 1 second it is idling. You can see it is transition. There's the update pad state machine here, which is a function that we have in the update here. Let me actually get rid of this. Good. Now there's nothing here preventing us to see that it is walking and idling, then walking, then idling again. You can see because it is actually updating the state machine. So you get the idea. This is pretty much the way that you'll be able to create the logic here, and it will be much more visual, much easier for you to identify what is going on and improve the logic for your games and create more complicated stuff. So this is pretty much how I'm planning to make this. There's a lot of things that I want to improve here. Let me actually show you. Actually, I'm not going to show you, just mention one thing that I really want to do is a way to debug this, because right now I do have to create like this print stuff, but I want to have like a very easy visual way, maybe even here, like showing, hey, if you select this entity while the game is running and there's a state machine component, it will actually preview in which state it is right now here, so you have a better idea, better debug options to understand what is going on. This is very good for I believe. And one thing as well is that if I change this parent state and then if I go back to it, it will restart this child state. So maybe I want to store, to have like a historic, to not restart the child state and allow you to choose if you want to restart it or not. I don't know. I'm still thinking. I'm also thinking about how the state machine will share variables and all that. I do have the properties, which is definitely something that helps, but I'm still checking all this fine details, you know. So that's basically it for the state machine. Work in progress, but I'm happy that it is working, and we are already starting to use, we are about to start actually, I'm finishing the implementation here to use this in our next game, which will be like very huge, interesting and different game, and we want to use this for the AI, for the pedestrians, for the enemies and all that. So this is why basically the state machine is being implemented. We want to use this in our next game, so expect a lot of new stuff here. So basically that's it. It's been a while since I talked about Cave Engine, so I hope this is a great update, because I've been working hard in many new things here for the engine, so I hope you enjoyed. Again, make sure to check crawl on Steam or game. It's very nice. It does have controller support, does have achievements, super great. 95% of the reviews are positive. And also make sure you join the game jam. And last but not least, make sure to go to our website, uniday.studio/cave, so you get access to the engine, and it's very nice. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye!